Hey everybody, and welcome to another Cricut craft tutorial. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional bonus live video. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to make those really fun word keychains with faux leather. You guys asked for me to show you guys how to do these from the last faux leather keychain video. They're super fun to do. You only need a few supplies. I'll link everything that you need below, but all you're going to need is some faux leather, a little keychain ring. You can use any style that you like. I use E6000, which is a really strong craft glue, and I also always recommend having a silicone mat. That way, if you get any glue anywhere, you don't get it on your work surface. And then you'll also need a fabric grip mat and a fine point blade for your Explorer or your Cricut Maker. Both can do this project. It's super easy and really, really fun, and you can do this with any word. We're going to show you guys how to do the word love, but you can do this with names. You can do this with just about anything that you can think of. So let's go over to Design Space so that I can show you how to design this. To make the word keychains, it's super easy. All we need to do is open up a text box, and we're just going to do, I'll just make the love keychain for you guys. That one's pretty easy. But it's all going to be basically the same idea. Now, you can do them in lowercase or capitals. I think it looks better if they're all capital letters. And what I always recommend is a thick font. Impact is a fantastic one. This one is really fun as well. This one, though, is a little tight on some of the letters, like the E's and things. So you'll want to keep that in mind. But you'll just play around a little bit. Find a font that looks like one that you want to use. You can use script fonts as well, but I do recommend, again, picking a nice, thick, heavy font. Something like this would work as well. The lines are pretty thick and heavy. You just want to make sure that it's going to be a good, structurally sound font. You wouldn't want to use something really, really thin or something that has super wobbly lines. This is also a great font, the Cooper Black, which apparently decided it didn't want to change until then. Cooper Black is a great one. So let's do Cooper Black because I think that one is really cute and easy to work with. So what you'll need to do first is ungroup your letters. You could use letter spacing, but for this one, I do prefer to ungroup because you're going to need to move them a little bit more than you would with just letter spacing. So I'm going to grab my O first, and I'm just going to move it over so that it lines up with my L. You want them to overlap a little bit, but not so much that you can't tell what letter it is. Now with the V, it's a little bit strangely shaped compared to the O. So we're going to line it up so that it's connected completely with the O, but you can still tell that it's a V. And now for our E, we'll just move that over, and I want to make sure it has a nice, strong connection to the V, because you don't want really thin lines. Again, it can rip, and you just want to make sure that you have a nice, thick connection. So we're going to go ahead and select all of that, and now you need to weld it so that there are no cut lines between any of your letters. That part, super easy. The next thing that I need to do is I'm going to get a shape. I'm going to get a square, and I'm going to unlock it over here in the lower left-hand corner. And then I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out so that it's a little over 1/2 inch thick. The width right now doesn't matter, but you do want to make sure that it's pretty thick. That looks pretty good. So what we'll do now is we're going to take this word love and we're going to duplicate it. We need to have 2 of them because they're going to fold over on top of each other. But the most important thing is that you flip one of them so that when you fold them over, you're going to have the colored side of your leather on one side and the colored side of your leather on the other. You're going to glue the back sides of your leather together. So what we'll need to do is go to the word flip up here in the top, right about center, and you want to flip it horizontally. That way it is backwards. So basically you're mirroring it just like you would for HTV. Now what I want to do is select both of my words love. You can do this by holding Control and clicking on both words. And I want to align them, and I just want to align their bottoms so that they are perfectly aligned. You can place your little piece here wherever you want it on your screen. You just want to make sure that you have a decent amount here to fold it over on itself. And we're going to go ahead and select all pieces and weld. Now this is a little bit too long for our 12 by 12 sheet, so we're going to go ahead and size it down. I'm going to do it at exactly 11.5 at its widest point. That should give us a pretty big keychain, and it'll be really, really fun. So now what we need to do is click on Make It. We are going to show you what it looks like on the screen. Now, to cut this, we're going to go ahead and click Continue. I always recommend doing test cuts. For my machine personally, it doesn't like to cut on the faux leather setting, and that's totally okay. I use the shimmer leather setting, but I've done a ton of different test cuts on these, so I kind of know what works. So what you're going to do is click on Browse All Materials, and I know that it's a leather setting, so I'm just going to search the word leather, and you'll see that you have a bunch of different options. I, again, use shimmer leather, but a lot of people have luck using faux leather. I recommend doing a quick test cut. You can just do a little star, usually about 1 inch big, and if it can cut a star, it'll cut your design. Go ahead and click Done. It just needs a fine point blade. I'm going to show you guys how to load your mat and how to cut this out, and then I'm going to show you how to assemble it. We're ready to load our mat. Now don't come at me for loading it upside down. You can actually load them upside down. The bottom of my mat is stickier right now than the top of my mat, so I'm going to use the bottom section to cut versus using the top. I did attempt cutting on the top and it kind of bunched because it wasn't held down well enough. So it's just a quick trick that you can use when you are going to cut something, especially if your mat's getting a little less sticky up at the top. Just flip it over. Now that your machine has cut, we are ready to unload from the mat. So what I do is I flip my mat upside down and I take the edge of my leather and I just pull that part off. I pull the excess off. Don't bend your mat so far that it cracks. You want to kind of do a light bend. But this is just a quick way to get this off rather than accidentally ripping your leather, because you want to make sure you save as much faux leather as possible. You can do so much with the small scraps. And then you can see right here at the top, this is where it cut our little keychain. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and carefully, and you do want to go careful, is peel this off as carefully as you can. And I'm going to tell you a quick little trick. So these little insides of the O's, these are great little embellishments for earrings. So don't throw them out. I have a little plastic box that I keep all this kind of stuff in, and I can add these to my earrings with some E6000 to add just a little color. It's really, really fun way to reuse some of that leather. So let's go ahead and we're going to get this glued together. We are ready to put our keychain together. So you need a couple of things. You'll need some E6000. This is a really strong craft glue. It is really great, but I do recommend buying these small tubes. The big tubes tend to dry out. A key ring of any style. I will link these below. They're really cute. Came in a bunch of different shapes. The heart I thought seemed appropriate, and then I use a little silicone stick. So I'm going to go ahead and put my keychain through my little ring first. You can do it after, but I just think it's a little bit easier to do it first, because then you don't have to worry about ripping your leather putting your keychain through it. You want to make sure that this is out of the way from your glue. I'm just going to slide it down a little bit. So we're going to put glue on this side and we're going to fold it over like this, and we'll match them up. So it's going to be really easy to do. So what I'm going to do is get my E6000, and I take my E6000, and this, I may need to get another little tube. This one doesn't have a ton left in it. But what I'm going to do, and I'm going to use my little silicone sticky to hold down my pieces. That way you don't get any on your fingers, because this stuff's gross. And it gets everywhere, and it is super sticky. So you want to make sure that you get all the edges. And like I said, I'm just going to use my silicone stick to hold this down. And you want to make sure that you get all the edges, especially like on the E, where it's got all those extra little pieces. And you just want to go over your whole design. I'm not putting a ton of glue. It does not take a lot of this glue to hold stuff down. So don't worry about, you know, putting like a lot on. A little dab will do you with this stuff, especially on the faux leather. I'm going to put a little bit more right here. Like I said, you want to make sure you have a decent coating, but you don't need to go overboard. Like I said, I'm running out of glue in this tube, so we'll just make sure we get all the little spots. You want to make sure, again, you get to all these little edges, like right here on the L at the top where it's got these little indents that come out. And then I want to make sure that I get the center of the L. You want to make sure everything's going to stay held together. Like I said, this is an easy one. I don't have a ton of glue left in my tube, so I'm going to just try to squeeze the last little bits out. There we go. There's a little bit more. And then we'll put a little bit more right there. And if it sticks, just take your silicone stick and you can just hold it down. It's perfectly easy. This stuff does dry pretty quickly, so you'll want to work relatively fast. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure to put my cap back on. I don't want to get this on anything that isn't this project. And then all I'm going to do is take this portion, and this is where you need to take your keychain and kind of make sure it's out of the way. And we're going to fold this over and match it up with the letters. And don't worry if it's not perfect the first second. You can slide it around a little bit. You just want to make sure that it's all matched up. And the more you do this, the more you'll get a little bit more used to matching the letters up and getting them slid around so everything is nice and even. That looks pretty good, I think. Yep, looks perfect. So you're going to want to let this sit out and fully cure and dry for about 24 hours before you want to put it on your keys. It does take a while for the E6000 to become fully bonded, but I love how cute this came out. I'm not going to pick it up too much. I don't want to bump it, but I think this came out really, really cute, and the little heart on the end is such a fun touch. You guys could add little charms to these if you wanted. I always leave this part of my keychain attached when I do these in case I did want to add a tassel or a little charm. You could even add a little piece, another little piece of like a leather to it and make a little heart charm or something like that. These are so fun, and you can do just about any word. Like I said, just use a thicker, heavier font and make sure that all of your letters are touching, and don't forget to weld. Those are some of the most important tips that I can give you on making word keychains. Just have fun with it, be creative, and be yourself. And don't forget that you can get faux leather at 651vinyl.com. I have that linked below. Use code GET5 to save an additional 5% on these sheets. They have 24 colors with more coming, I'm sure. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. It is completely free to subscribe, costs you not a dime. Have a great day and happy crafting.